chat is Golden Coin 100. First in the chat, Golden Coin 100. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another fantastic interview on the CW Chanter channel, where I take a back seat and a break and let other people do my job for me. And if I'm gonna have other people do my job for me, I might as well be the number one, if only African American representative of the ufology UFO conspiracy set. Kidding, jokes of course. I couldn't get Billy Carson, so I got his understudy,
Wait,
Paranormal Hood
CW,
Jiggy.
are you
Yeah,
sure you're live?
I think I'm live.
I don't think so.
Let's see what's going on.
Unless my phone is just bugging for some reason.
Your phone is fucked up.
Could be.
Yeah, no, I'm live.
Okay.
It's
me that's
Maybe I
not live.
shouldn't be. You know what I mean? There you go. God is covering for me. It's Jiggy's little way of saying I don't like those jokes, man.
No, I got it now. I don't know. I get on with you when things start to happen. You know?
There you go. There you go. Well, look, someone's got to get on with me. There you go. Okay, no, seriously, folks. But seriously, we have an actual esteemed member of the community. I think he's been doing this conspirologist debunking stuff way before I even showed up on the scene. The one, the only Jiggy from Paranormal Hood. We've known each other well. We go back at this point. You know what I mean? You blink twice in YouTube conspiracy land, and years have gone by.
Yeah,
that's the way that it goes. So look, this is a no rules, no holds barred conversation. Me and Jiggy have talked before. It took 10,000 million years, but I eventually got onto his smoke and chat informal conversation network, and that was a blast. If you look at the description box below, you will see the first two prominent links are for Paranormal Hood Live, where Jiggy normally holds court with his the Robin to his Batman, Smoke King. I tease because I love. And then you'll see the aforementioned link to his own personal channel where you can get a great time, have a great time listening to other members of the conversation, other members of the community, talk with Jiggy about all things under the sun, including but not limited to the stuff you all enjoy watching over here and watching over on Paranormal Hood. People asking relevant and rational questions, oftentimes in a humorous manner, about this crazy clown circus called Conspiracy Theory Land, ufology world. Jiggy, how we doing today?
I'm good. No complaints at all.
There you go. Looking at your background, I realized I forgot to wear my official Paranormal Hood live shirt.
I mentioned that last night, CW. You're one of the very few people who, like, I turn you on and randomly you'll have the shirt on. I've given away, I am the worst salesperson ever. I've never really tried to sell the shirts. I've given away probably, a couple hundred shirts over the years.
Right.
And nobody wears them. Like, nobody fucking wears them. They're probably like rags and stuff, somewhere. Someone's probably using them as a headband and something like that. But no, they don't use anything with that stuff. So I appreciate you representing.
Well, hey, listen, if it's free, it's for me. I get a free shirt in the mail, and I'm like, yeah, you're in the rotation.
Well, you have to thank your audience because a lot of what we did was donation based. So the donations came in, people received shirts, and the extra money all went to extra shirts that we just sent to random people, just to make sure everybody got one. So
there you go. Well, it was money well spent as far as sending it to me because listen, not only that, here, listen, I'll also vouch for the shirt. You might not be a great salesman, but you know what I mean? Maybe it's the Jew in me. I'll never resist the opportunity to try and move some product. It's a quality shirt. Not only is it a high quality design with a brilliant color chosen that contrasts so beautifully with the white background, it's also a comfortable shirt. You get a lot of free swag. Especially band shirts and what have you. And it's just like, where's this? This is like, it's not even from China. You know what I mean? I don't know where you got this, but this is actually like high quality stuff. I'm not going to lie and say it's Egyptian cotton, but it's a comfortable shirt. Wear it to bed. Yeah, wear it out into town.
Shout out to Wake Up Threads. That's
absolutely.
That's Ghost. He actually is the one who does all the shirts and stuff. He actually has been part of the show since day one. So he's been down with it. So he's been, that's what he does in the background. And just so you know, CW,
promotion is due.
I think you might appreciate that. So if you actually look at the logo, I am a huge Public Enemy fan. I even got to open up for them when I was a rapper as a teenager. And I wanted a logo that kind of,
cool.
Honest to God, it was a skating rink here in Boston called Chevu. And
Nice.
when I loved their logo, like from the moment I ever saw it. So I wanted something that kind of reflected that without jacking it, but paying homage to them. And it just was like, that was the way a kid actually drew this logo for me. He was also part of Paranormal Hood, and to say how crazy he is, he has a sarcophagus in his room. But he actually drew the thing and just did it by hand, and I went and had it all professionally done and stuff. So I just love the logo. This is kind of representative of me throughout my life. Hip hop, everything, ghosts, it all is included in that logo.
That's it. Well, that's beautiful. And then now that you mention that origin story, it kind of makes sense. I can see it. I can see it. And it's a strong logo. I mean, you guys are doing this stuff. And listen, you guys, you mentioned, your life and a little bit brief, the hit from hip hop to ghosts and the paranormal investigations on through this YouTube stuff. And it's a fascinating story. And I know that you've done like a lot of stuff outside of YouTube on different, different forums, and you've been exploring this area for a while. As long as we're doing the whole interview shtick, let me throw it to you for a little bio. Can you bring us up to speed?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, basically over the years, before the podcast, we actually were investigating. The podcast we do on Thursday nights has been around for 8 years as of this year. But before that, we just started like everybody else, just kind of, I went through the things in life that I started to question things that happened to me. Then I found Coast to Coast AM like most people do. And it kind of what sprungboarded me into this community. Like It literally just is like, oh my God, I'm not crazy. Things that have happened throughout my life. There's actually a bunch of other people who have similar stories. So you start listening to Coast, and you go down deeper roads. And then you start going to the conferences and all the get-togethers. And mind you, all this stuff literally started with ghosts.
Right.
Like just the whole idea of haunting, investigating ghosts, spirits, demons, blah, 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 whatever you want to call them. And I mean, you yourself know what it's grown to at this point, though. I mean, the whole community just kind of merged. And I've watched this merge, but we've had an incredible partner. We've been offered all kinds of stuff, turned down TV shows. I mean, I literally have a stack of friggin' contracts that have been offered over the years because they wanted us to do it a certain way. And I'm just not that kind of person. As you see, sitting here smoking and stuff like that, you see me smoke throughout this and everything like that. Like, I just keep it as real as I possibly can. Now, I know some people would think like it's, hijinks that we're out there and they're smoking and just running around investigating. It's not like that. So if you ever go to like Amazon Prime, we have a couple of episodes that we actually filmed with Nick Roth he used to be on Ghost Adventures, and he's had a bunch of shows, and he still has a bunch of stuff out there. And he's actually been a huge friend to us since the day I met him, because he actually is from Massachusetts, so he's from the same state as I am. So he's really pushed for us to get stuff. So like I said, there's been different things we've done. There's a couple of episodes on Amazon Prime. There's this stuff on YouTube, but we haven't really pushed a lot of our stuff. It was more that once we were doing all the filming and stuff, all that was great and the investigating, but then you get to a point where going to those conferences and doing all this stuff all these years, I got to start meeting the figureheads, I guess you could say, or these celebrities in these different fields. And how do I say this without trying to sound like an asshole? I wasn't impressed.
Right.
I just wasn't. And it's just to give anybody who doesn't know me a brief background on my work. I'm 51 years old currently at this time. I've spent more than 30 years in the private security industry. And I'm not talking about mall security. I'm talking about clubs, bars, concerts, personal protection. I've been on tours. I've done all kinds of work. So I took a lot of that, and I still carry a lot of that with me, the stuff that I've learned all those years. And I mean, I've been trained with some incredible professionals in all levels of law enforcement, including military, everything. So you learn body language, you learn, especially as a doorman. If you ever been a doorman in a bar.
I used to doorman all the time.
Dude, I'll tell you this. There's no worse liar on the planet than a drunk person. They will do anything possible to get back into a club or a bar. They'll tell you anything. I'm the president of the United States, motherfucker. Like, let me in and shit. Like, they'll tell you anything. So you start to see that things in people and stuff, So I started going to these events. I mean, you look behind me, you see Billy Carson. I've been to a ton of events with him, hung out with him. He was like a friend to us for a minute and everything. And I just watched how quick these people change once you start asking questions, and not even hard questions.
Right.
It's not even like you're in their face, like, oh, fuck you, you're a liar or anything like that. It's like basic stuff like, well, I don't understand what you're saying, but how does this equate to this? But this doesn't make sense, including buying his books, buying people's books, everything and stuff like that. Like myself and smoking do a ton of research. And one of it is, again, going to these events. And it's just disheartening. It really is. there's not a lot of people I haven't met in all these fields, ghosts, ufology, and stuff like that. So I've had a lot of personal interactions with a lot of people that you wouldn't even expect. And from drinking to smoking to partying to hanging and just chilling and talking and stuff like that, having conversations, dinners, lunches, breakfasts, brunches, snacks, whatever, it all you can think of. And I've just really got a really great glimpse inside of this, and it flipped my world upside down. Because it was just like, what is this field? Like, what is this community, as it's called, as it exists now? And how is it functioning with these people who tell these outlandish stories? And if you've been to Contact in the Desert. Sure. You go to Contact in the Desert 2018, you go 19, if we didn't have a pandemic, you're literally going to almost see the same lineup of people.
Absolutely.
Year after year after year. Every now and then you'll get a new face that comes along, like we currently have Lou Elizondo, people like that and stuff. But overall, you're going to see the same people over and over again, and nothing is advancing this community. In fact, it's going retrograde. It's going backwards. It really is. Like,
like David Wilcock mentioning dudes from the 1950s and shit.
Oh, Lord. And Corey Good linking up with Billy Carson and this young Pharaoh kid. He goes to a convention with a bunch of black people, and all of a sudden Corey Good comes back and starts talking about Zulu warriors and stuff. I don't know if you caught any of that.
I definitely caught the Zulu warrior thing when I was like, I didn't know that he had hooked up with young Pharaoh, who is like 12th descendant to Donald Marshall stuff, human cloning stuff.
Well, they all did an event together, and all of a sudden Corey Good, these folks who don't speak a lot about African Americans or Africans or black people at all of a sudden came back with a renewed interest in the Zulu warriors. But they weren't the aliens. They were the warriors here on Earth. Because, the aliens, the black ones are the bad ones, So that's why I don't understand how he's flipping it all of a sudden. Like, there's these good black people now, Corey. Okay, cool, I guess.
We should try and see if we can get him to name check Africa Bombada.
Oh, yeah, good luck in this nation. He'll be like David Wilcox. One time it was me, Jamal. We were out there. He had cornrows. We were smoking blunts. You ever hear him say that shit?
Oh, I heard him go through. I went through a little bit of a hip hop phase, and I'm exactly. Like, your lingo is.
Yeah, I drove by the hood with my window slightly cracked. Looked out, saw some guys, and was banging some hip hop, and was like, "What's up, homies?" Yeah, it's like, dude, like
absolutely. They chased him out of the mall.
Yeah,
and that was New Edition.
Yeah.
So going through that whole thing, is there anything from it was obviously a disheartening experience going through and seeing kind of the way the background, seeing how the sausage is made, as they say. Is there anything, what has survived, if anything, from in your interest in the paranormal and hauntings, and that has survived that? Questions that you still have, things where if people come up to you and say, "Hey man, why are you in this community if you don't care or believe in any of this stuff?" We'll be surprised that you still believe in, if anything.
Well, it's actually the opposite. It's not that I don't believe. I believe in everything. Everything is possible, but it's about proof. And that's where people think that we're just extreme skeptics. We're just extreme skeptics because we've put in a lot of work and seen a lot of bullshit and heard a lot of bullshit. The ultimate goal is the truth, to find the truth, whatever that may be. I know it's a daunting task. It sounds easier said than done, but you got to begin somewhere. But this just, with most of these people that you're dealing with, that's the wrong place to begin with it. You would just really have to I know everybody says do your own research and stuff, but it really is one of the most important things you can do. You can't have others speaking for you, thinking for you, and setting up the way you're going to approach all this stuff, because you're just going to be like everybody else and get lost and be paying $500 and $333 for ascension schools and all kinds of foolishness that just aren't going to assist you in doing anything. It's more the boots on the ground. I'm always going to want to be an investigator. I'm always going to try to investigate stuff. And I think that's the most important thing. I'm not disheartened. I'm disheartened with people, knowing like it's always human beings. It's the human being aspect of it. Everybody trying to create themselves as these incredible heroes, these incredible characters and stuff. And CW, we've talked about it over a few years that, the movies, the science fiction, all the stuff, our age is a little bit different, but we grew up with the same stuff, the same music, the same movies, right? The same comic books, the same sci-fi, Star Wars, Star Trek, Buck Rogers. You can name like a Star Blaze. I don't even know if you know all these different things that we all grew up with and we watched them, and some of them may be different in different regions, whatever, but overall it's the same shit. And then you have these same people, a lot of them who are in our same age bracket, and they're telling these incredible stories, and I'm just sitting there. And this is someone who's had brain surgery. Like, my brain has literally exploded, had aneurysm exploded, been through some crazy shit. So when I question some shit that I'm hearing, I'm like, what the hell? And I just hear these stories that I know that I've read, that I've watched on television, I've watched in movies and stuff. And it's like, it rings a bell. That's why people don't get that it resonates with them. Yeah, it just makes sense to me. It resonates with me. So yeah, because you watch Star Wars.
Because you heard that.
Because
shit.
you saw They Live, because you read this book, or you whatever cartoon, whatever current Avengers movies are going on, whatever Marvel shit is going on. That's why it resonates with you, because you've heard it all before. You just don't realize it because you're not looking at it the way you need to look at it. That people, human beings, are storytellers. Yeah, not only do we like to be storytellers, we like stories told to us. You know, that campfire effect. Everybody's sitting around the campfire, and that one person's telling that banging story that everybody's just like, oh, they're in awe as they're eating their s'mores and stuff. You know, that's what these people do. And people don't realize it's just stories. And they're great stories. But if I want stories, I have Disney Plus, I have Netflix, I have Hulu, I have Amazon Prime, I've got HBO, I've got 1,000 channels on cable and even on free television, because I even have an antenna that I can access to go see and hear all that stuff. I don't need it in my real life. And that's the problem with
predictive programming for the future conferences.
Exactly.
You guys stay tuned into Netflix to find out what people are going to be saying tomorrow. Let me ask you, do you ever have this experience? This is the latest thing. It seems like, and the way I define this is that, like, the conspiracy theory community wants to keep the whole thing going. So it develops antibodies to these skeptical questions. And what I love is when you used to be able to point out to people, hey, that's taken from the TV show, that's taken from the movie. You ever get this? People say, yeah, of course it is, because they have to put the truth in there as like predictive programming. They're getting us ready for drip disclosure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like, so you can't even like win.
Everything's a documentary, you know that. Like, eventually everything gets called a doc. Lilo and Stitch was a documentary.
The best is David Wilcock on talking to the human blow up doll Jenny McCarthy and being like, Star Wars is basically a documentary, and I'm like, full stop. And you realize the audience of thousands that heard that and were not like automatically like click, turn it off, but were like, oh my God, Star Wars was a documentary.
Yeah, okay.
I'm still waiting for them to find the thousands of C-3PO like robots on the moon.
Oh, well, no, that'll be Scott C. Waring. He'll find them on Mars somewhere. I'm sure he probably has found R2-D2
telescope. Yeah, absolutely. So talking about these conferences and seeing the exact same people, I know one thing that's been going around Twitter is a lot of consternation and upset regarding, you mentioned Lou Elizondo. I know that there's a conference featuring him, Dan Sheehan and Linda Moulton Howe and Whitley Strieber, and they're charging like an arm and a leg for one of these Zoom conferences. I know that, isn't Jimmy Church involved in that thing as well? I think so, maybe.
Yeah, he's become like the promoter and ringleader of everything.
He is coming to some. He took I remember about a year ago he was gonna dip out. Right, he was like, I'm taking 2 pounds of weed, throwing it in the Camaro, and I'm driving off into the Mojave Desert. I'm on a quest. You'll never see me again. And then like 2 weeks later, he's like, I'm back. Let's not talk about it. Must have lost his shit in Vegas. I don't know what the fuck. But now he seems to be back on the attack. And you know, we mentioned Billy Carson behind you. I know there was a whole bunch of controversy regarding some sort of amazing car giveaway. And Billy Carson is amazing because he is really, of all the people, he's the one that's most likely to get like involved in these like old school televangelist like grifts and shifts. Like you pointed out something for me where he had one, looked like a fake charity for a handicapped kid. I mean, where he's actually taking photos of himself with like kids in wheelchairs and being like, this is my foundation or whatever.
Yeah.
It's really, it's nuts. It's nuts.
But if you watch the way he even did the donations, so it's like, I'm going to get this started. Here's a $15,000 donation, which looks really great on the surface, but you have to look at the wording next to it. It's a $15,000 offline donation, which means that donation never has to be made, but it's just the appearance that the donation has been made. And well, if he's given 15,000 or whatever, well, then that means something. So all these people start giving their money and everything, thinking that they're doing the right thing, not knowing that it's a big scam. Billy is not going to take any handicapped person on vacation. No disrespect to anybody handicapped. This is a disrespect to him. Because if you even look at the
Right.
picture, it's him and his woman. And his woman, I'm sorry, is a very high maintenance woman. She ain't wiping nobody's ass. She's not pushing nowhere. In the picture, it looks all great, but it's not what he's doing. It's all scams. It's the same thing with, he literally put up a post with a meme that says, for 5,000, I don't want to quote the number wrong, but it's still, it's all about the money. A month, you can adopt a child and get this money, this income coming to you. It wasn't said like, it wasn't written like, oh, children need homes. There's kids that
Yeah.
need adopted or foster homes and stuff like that. And even if you're in a position where maybe you don't feel like you can afford it, you could get assistance to help you with it, or something that just makes it more than just, hey, go get this $5,000 a month for getting a kid. So you're just basically telling any person that doesn't know this, oh, I can go adopt a kid and get me some money from the state.
Right.
That's not about charity. That has nothing to do with charity the way it's written. And that's how he writes this stuff and does this stuff. And it's all fake, all of it. Just watch his track record. Any detractors of Billy Carson, do your own research on him. It's not hard. And go look at the reviews just that he has online on his own stuff for his products that he sells and his book and everything that people still haven't received. He's another Corey Good. There are people who didn't receive his book after 2 years and stuff who bought it online. These are his own personal reviews. These aren't just jaded people. It's not me. It's not any. I don't do that type of shit. I don't have time for that. These are literally customers of his. It speaks volumes on everything that he does across the board. I can't even imagine what his conference was like. Well, I didn't go. I don't know anybody who went, but I can imagine what that was probably like because I know Billy.
Right.
And again, my critiques of him and others come from spending time with these people. I'm not, you see me sitting on a couch, so people might assume I'm like one of those Monday morning quarterbacks. I am not. We've been talking about it. I've put in a lot of work, spent a lot of time. I live in Boston. I've traveled to California back and forth for years to California, going to conferences and stuff. All around New England in different places, New York, upstate New York, New Orleans, different things that I've been to and stuff like that, because I wanted to, again, be boots on the ground. And the best way to get to know people is to go sit in a room, listen to these people speak and watch the zombies who are in there like, oh, they're eating this stuff up, and realize that every time you go, every year, it's pretty much the same stuff. Might add a little bit. And there's new little stuff added in because it's 2021, so there's relevant events to 2021, but it's all still the same regurgitated bullshit. And they all pretty much circle jerk each other, but they try to make their stuff just a little bit different so they can stand out and rise to the top.
Right. Now, yeah. So watching these conferences and experiencing and going to these conferences over the years, and not only getting a chance to see kind of behind the scenes by soaking up time with the personalities and sussing them out. What do you see as changes in the community? Obviously, with COVID-19, throwing Contact in the Desert and a whole bunch of other conferences off the schedule for a year. What do you see? How can you track any changes? Do you think that the community is growing? Do you think it's falling apart? Do you think people are finally becoming more skeptical or seeing things? What do you what's been on your mind as far as predictions or things that you see or tracking in the community that you can observe?
Well, so we all know about the pandemic, obviously, and what happened.
Right.
And that really changed the scope of how they were doing business, and they became very online. So now they're going back to the typical conferences, which I find kind of weird. But if you also notice the people who were at these conferences, these are a lot of the people who kind of avoided or stepped away from all the letter of the alphabet stuff, after the implosion in Washington and stuff like that. So I kind of thought that maybe they would go the opposite way and take some of those people away, but they're just changing their stories. So I just kind of see them doing business as usual right now. I don't know how long that's going to last, though, because I think at some point, even a lot of these new faces who are coming in and trusting the plan and all that type of stuff are seeing that it's blowing up in their faces. So I think that there may be a switch, or at least there'll be two kind of conferences. I think that there's going to start to be a growth of, even if they're small, real conferences with people talking about real stuff and actually having real conversations and questioning stuff. And you're still going to have these people who are doing what they're doing, because there's always going to be people who are into the fantasy, who are into all that. They're not into reality. They don't want to touch base in reality. They're into the fantasy. And I think that there's still going to be people who always chase that. They've always been around, so they're not going to go anywhere. I don't think it's going to really hurt the community. I just think that the community is getting a lot of people in it that are going to stay here for a minute and then step away once they figure out that most of the stuff is bullshit.
Right. Okay. So there you go. So there's, and as far as like these real conferences, like what do you see and what do you think like constitutes, like a real conference? Like what do you think is fair game to talk about, or how do you know that to separate maybe the honest questions from just the pure bullshit promotion? Like what's your sniff test to try, or what do you envision or think that you would like to see as far as these conferences or real conferences developing?
Real science,
Real.
real, even, if it's a scientist who just wants to go against their community, but they believe in something and willing to try to prove it, but bring some real science into this, real conversations. It's just so one-sided. Once you start asking these people questions, they hit you with these ambiguous answers, and of course move the goalpost or send you to one of their lackeys or one of their friends who are saying the same bullshit. So I'd like to be able to see people sit down. I kind of dug how Stanton Freeman got the opportunity to kind of do that.
Right.
More things like that, like where it's not a screaming match, it's not a shouting match, it's just real people with real science or real ideas who are willing to sit down, put it on the table, and be able to talk about those facts and try to bring whatever onto the table that needs to be table. Both sides need to be present at that table, where right now it is not like that at all. It's a very one-sided thing.
You mentioned Stan Friedman. It seemed like him, and also people forget like Coast to Coast AM has gone in such a different direction under George Norrie, and and I know that Jimmy Church is no longer involved over there, but he was it was looking like he was going to be number 3 on the totem pole for a while. Um, People forget like Art Bell was kind of a skeptic. Art Bell would always be pushing back on these guests and asking questions, asking probing questions, or having the common sense to say, well, that doesn't make sense, or be a little cynical about things. And then also Stan Friedman was kind of a similar guy. Uh, so is there anyone that you see? And for a while, it looked like Richard Dolan was going to end up taking that Stanton Friedman kind of post. You know what I mean? But what do you think about Richard Dolan? Because some people say that the last like year or two haven't been kind to him and his reputation.
Well, I think he's one of those nice guys with that smooth, calm talking voice that people listen to. And for a while, he got away and skirted the line. And now the truth is coming out. He's being called out about stuff that were lies. And in essence, he's trying to cover his ass, like, things happen and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's human nature. But you people talk about vetting and all these incredible things that you go to get these sources of information, or you should have to go to get these sources of
Right.
information or get the information, period, that they don't do. And then they sit there and they have to eat crow. And I think he's one of those people. I've met Richard, met his wife.
Yeah.
I met him at International UFO Congress. I mean, real nice guy,
Oh, he's
great
a great guy.
conversation. But that doesn't mean that anything that you're doing is anything better than anybody else when you're just spreading shit without figuring out what you're talking about. And he's at the point where it's all about, how much can I be seen on YouTube? How much can I make off of all this stuff? How much can people hear my voice? It's not about any truth. I think Richard Dolan is just falling in with the rest of them. He's falling in line.
Right. So talk about that concept of falling in line. I mean, you obviously been to these conferences and made your observations. You got there and you've seen people probably that at an initial impression knew were kind of full of it. Has there anybody that you've seen kind of fall victim to the system, like kind of start off in one direction, and just whether it's the money or needing the money, or what factors do you see? And if you don't want to talk about specific personalities, do you know what some of the do you feel like what some of the traps are, what ends up happening to people, what can end up corrupting their integrity?
Truth. If you're looking for and trying to speak any kind of real truth, then if you're in this for fame, if you're in this for money, if you're in this for any of that, you are not going to most likely find it. Throughout history, you very seldom see the truth be profitable for anybody. Ask any old school journalist about the truth.
Right.
And they'll tell you about the truth. New school journalism isn't really about the truth. A lot of it is fake news, but old school journalism stuff was about truth. That's the thing. That it's all, if you can't, how do I word this? Sorry, I'm also high. But
No way.
no way. Don't tell me, buddy. I think I lost.
There's no way.
My dogs are barking.
What happened?
What did you say? No, the
Hey,
dog.
listen, I'll lose my train of thought. It's a good thing I'm not smoking. Forget
Ask the
about it.
question again, please. I got distracted by the dog.
Ask the question again. I can't. Let me try and see if I can remember
All right,
it.
fucking
Hold
move
on. Oh, wait. Yeah, no. I
Oh, I
got
got
it.
it.
I
I
got
got it.
it.
Okay, yeah.
There.
It took. I had to go back in my. Remember, folks, brain surgery. I can always claim. When I say BS,
Always
it means
claim
brain
bliss and
surgery.
default to brain surgery. There you go.
But I don't like calling people out because I kind of
Okay.
understand how it can happen. I've just never fallen victim to it because at the beginning it's just not what I wanted. But I think that it becomes that folks just get caught up in all this shit. It gets frustrating. I say this a lot, CW. When I go on YouTube, it's not like I have a plethora of people anymore that I can go and look at who are debunking shit or calling people out. You know, there's you. I'm not going to say other names, but there's only a couple people left who are really doing this because
Right.
most people get caught up and go the other way. It's just so much easier to go the other way. The other way brings numbers. It's satisfying. It brings views and all that type of stuff. If you get frustrated. I
Yeah.
don't get frustrated because it's never been a numbers game. You can go back to my blog talk fucking podcast and you'll
Right.
always hear us say it was never about the numbers. I didn't care if one person was watching or listening or 100. It's never mattered to me. As long as I was just able to do this thing my way, put out what I thought was the truth or try to get to the truth. That's always what it's been. It's not, I don't do this on here, any of this stuff for profit. I don't want it from listeners. I don't want it from my friends in this community. If a corporation get it right, like when they came just to do the Amazon Prime stuff, they said we'll film it, but you can do whatever you want to do it. We'll edit it down a little bit, but we're not going to, brush over shit and sensationalize shit and make anything's more than what it was. I was like, fine, if you could do that, then I'm with that. So if a corporation
Right.
came to me, if a corporation came to CW and said, listen, CW, we want to put you on Sirius Radio, whatever, but we're going to let you be CW. That's fine. That's where the money comes because now, first of all, you're getting the real corporate money and you're reaching a bigger and broader audience with truth if you are telling truth. That's what
Right.
makes sense to me. It does not make sense for me to a bunch of people who I talk to all the time or in chats with and hang out with are supposed to fund what I've been doing for 12 years, longer.
Right.
It's not their job. It's not their responsibility. I just find it. So it's the truth is the problem. If you're looking for the truth and looking to gain money and stuff from it and monetary, good luck. It just does not pay. The truth doesn't pay.
No. There you go. So like, so you mentioned like you're starting off as a rapper and hip hop. You mentioned your activity, as a professional, security and bodyguard. Like, what about that has helped infuse or guide your journey through this world to protect you from the selling out or and all that stuff. What do you think is important? Like, if there was a guy out there that was thinking about coming into this game about debunking or talking about this world of the paranormal or ufology or conspiracy theory, what do you think are the guiding principles that they need to have in place in their core in order to maintain themselves for the long haul or maintain their integrity?
One, you better have thick skin.
Yeah.
You really better have thick skin. Two, don't expect anything. Have no expectations whatsoever. Don't expect viewers. Don't expect likes. Don't expect numbers. Don't expect monetization. Don't expect any of that type of shit. Just go into it knowing that you want to do something and see how it evolves for you. You may start out one way and change to something else, but again, if you're looking for truth, you're going to keep looking for truth. But there's going to be a
Right.
whole lot of obstacles along the way, a whole lot of eye candy as you may want to. And I'm not talking about women. I'm talking about sponsors and all kinds of shit that will come.
Yeah, ain't no women in this. I can't do this. I've been to contact in the desert, man. Come on.
It is some. No, well, yeah.
Oh,
Well,
there's some, you know what I
well,
mean?
no. If you'd have to go to Conscious Life Expo,
Oh, that's
Conscious
no,
Life,
yeah, because
yeah,
that's where it's all mixed
yeah,
in.
that's a
That's
whole
where you
different
get
animal,
like
right? Conscious Life, yeah, you're getting everything there.
like
So
herbal body rubs and stuff. You know what I mean?
all vegan food, everything.
That's it. That's it. It's a bikini entirely made out of hemp. You want to smell?
Hey,
There
I was just there for the comments. No, I actually
you
did
go.
speak. I actually did speak at Conscious Life Expo.
I heard that like Conscious Life Expo is like a real zoo. Like when it comes to the speakers, like they have like the little like hospital barriers, like the cloth barriers. Everything's like a little corner, and everyone's got like a microphone and like a 10-cent amp, and they're telling people about immortality.
No, it
for like
wasn't.
25 minutes?
I won't. No, it wasn't that jinky. It was. It was.
Okay.
It was set up properly, and I'll give them credit. Out of all the things that I've been to, the different events, as far as that kind of stuff, they charge like a flat $20 fee for people to get in and
Okay.
be able to go to all the different vendors and stuff. And you even get to see speakers like myself. I was one of the free speakers, and then of course you have to pay more money to see the Billy Carsons and the Jimmy Churches and all these other folks and everything. But I think that they make it an affordable experience, which is why you get so many people there, which is smart for them because it attracts a lot more
Right.
people than some of the other events. I think it's the biggest event that I've gone to as far as this stuff is concerned.
Okay. And what did you, if you don't mind me asking, what was the topic of your speech?
So there was no topic really. That was the whole thing about it. I was actually going to pull out and not speak because at the time was especially with all the Billy stuff was starting to brew, and I was starting to really, after getting to know all these people and spend time with them, like my opinions and everything was starting to shift. So I'm like, what do I say when I get up on the stage? Because when it was first committed to doing it, it was months before all these things started to fall apart, and the little things started happening. I'm just like, I don't know if I want to do this. So I just got up and just kind of explained my history and all this. And just basically what I'm telling you guys is that I'm just here for the truth. And I was going to keep investigating, keep doing whatever I had to do to get the truth. I talked about my psychedelic experiences because it was so late in my life when I finally I had one psychedelic experience that was involuntary when I was younger, in my 20s. But everything I've done recently in my 40s, in my late 40s, was all voluntary. And I spoke a lot about that and how I was trying to use that as also a tool to try to figure out some of this stuff, see if you could through DMT, contact aliens and all this, because they talk about the clockwork L's, and all this different shit. And I've done that. I've done a few journeys on mushrooms and everything. Just try to see if there's some kind of a paranormal connection on this, because I've heard different people speak about it and the magic of mushrooms, and they are magical. But I don't know as far as a paranormal connection. I don't think it brought me any closer to ghosts or aliens or anything.
But it was worthwhile to kind of do the research or to kind of go in with looking in that direction.
Yeah, because I was so even you see me sitting here smoking weed, for the longest time I was anti-drugs. Like anything I considered to be a drug, Nancy Reagan sold me on the whole, don't do drugs. This is your brain on drugs with the egg and everything. And I always saw things like psychedelics as comical shit, movie shit, stuff that people were doing at Woodstock. And that where I grew up, I grew up in the streets of Boston, the city of Boston. Nobody I knew ever said, "Hey, I got some magic mushrooms." No one ever said, "Hey, you want to try some DMT? You want to try with acid?" Any of that type of stuff. Nobody I knew was into that type of stuff. Most of the people I knew barely smoked weed. That's why I didn't even smoke weed most of my life. It wasn't really a big thing. And doing research, and then my co-host smoking is, he can grow mushrooms, that stuff. Hooking up with Willie Michael, who's a mycologist, really just kind of walked me through that stuff. So I found the extreme interest of it, doing a lot of research and hearing different people talk about things. Is it Paul Stamets?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And because I'm high, what's the fucking guy's name? He's like the godfather of mushrooms.
Terrence McKenna.
Terrence McKenna. Just listening to these people talk and how it changed them and their thought process and everything was really intriguing to me. But then it also became a trust issue in understanding that I had major brain surgery. Like I've had a craniotomy and, an aneurysm, it burst and everything. So that was the other thing too. It's like, if I do this, is there any chance it's going to change any of the chemistry in my brain? Is it going to cause any kind of a relapse? Could it cause any problem in my brains? So I wanted to be extremely educated on these things I was going to do before I did them. And I started with DMT because it was the shortest experience and allowed me to kind of take my mind and my consciousness to a place that had never been before. And I was so impressed with the first time I did it. I literally did it back to back. So the second time is what you have, what they call the breakthrough, which I don't know what you attribute it to. Again, if you've ever done psychedelics, I don't know if there's some paranormal connection. I did see what I think I call the dudes, smoking, I call them the dudes, but they weren't like aliens. It was just kind of like these unfluid creatures that were just there, tall, small, short, no distinct color, no distinct facial features, anything. They were just there. So is it a product of the trip, of the experience? I've even done mushrooms in the dark. We did a session, we did mushrooms in the dark to see, if that going to give you a better connection, and can you see ghosts? Can you see anything that, you would normally see? Is it going to take you to a wavelength that's going to open you up more? And I just did not have any of those paranormal experiences. I want to do it again, but I'm coming off 2 major surgeries in the last year. The last year and a half.
Yeah, let me ask you, because you've
Yeah.
mentioned a couple of times the brain aneurysm and the brain surgery and the craniotomy. You know, there's a lot of people that attribute, like we talk about psychedelic experiences. There's a lot of people that have talked about the connection between brain injuries
Mhm.
or traumatic experiences, spinal or brain injuries, and that having some sort of a breakthrough effect, or even just the living through that sort of bodily trauma, that having some sort of effect, and whether it's on the kind of the paranormal tip, or whether it's just, you know, about your journey of survival, and things that you learned by going through an experience. Do you feel comfortable talking about
Yeah.
the brain issue, and then talking about how it may have affected you, or things you learned through the experience?
Yeah. I mean, it definitely was like, I mean, I've been shot. I've had all, and all, just so anybody know, I prefaced it that this was all work related. Even though I grew up on the streets, all the bad shit happened to me was all basically related to work stuff. Um, but it definitely changed me. It definitely opened my brain more. And that was the thing where even all this paranormal stuff, where I started to question all these incredible events that I had throughout my life, that I've survived, that I've witnessed and experienced. And it, I had to figure out a way, first of all, to slow my brain down. My brain felt like a supercomputer. Like once I recovered from all this stuff, that one, I wasn't supposed to recover from the way I did. And I think it's kind of my doctor's fault that even set me off, because I went and saw him after I got out of the hospital. My whole recovery, everything about my brain aneurysm, there's nothing normal about it. There's absolutely nothing normal about it. And my survival, everything that I went through, how it all kind of timed and played out, it just was all perfect timing. And I walked away from it, from the experience that I had, and it just really made me question more, like, how did I survive this? How am I fucking back? How am I here? Why am I here? And how do I make this connection to the fact that I keep surviving all this crazy shit? And people like to tell you, you know, always, oh, you have a purpose, you're not done here, and all that type of stuff, and all that stuff sounds great and everything, but it's not a real explanation. And that's really, so that's the other thing with weed too. That was one of the things that helped me to kind of slow my brain down, and to kind of get a little bit of a grip on things, and then be able to kind of figure out what approach I wanted to take, where I wanted to start to investigate, to figure out, one, why I had these experiences I had, why others have had them, and how do they correlate? Are they real? Is it something that just can be explained because we don't fully understand the human brain, and that it's death or not death, or this is a product of death or some of death? Because that's what I never understood. You know, where was I actually at? What was really going on? What was real? What was fake? And I didn't have a lot of experience that I can remember during the time when I was out. And I don't know how long the period I was out. Nobody will talk about it. Like, I have to actually just go get my records to figure the whole timeline of all this stuff out. But I just wanted to figure out, why am I here? I was not the same person. My sister told me, like, I'm not the same person. A lot of people told me there's just different things about me that they attribute to how I was before the one. And I'm not saying, like, you know, I went from an evil person, like I went from, you know, a bad Decepticon to an Autobot. I'm saying more of physical things that I would say, memories that I had that didn't add up. So that was one of the major things too, is that my memory was majorly affected by a lot of this stuff. And there were a lot of things that I needed triggers and people to say and talk about. And it's still to this day, people have to bring up memories and they'll start talking about them. And then it's like a movie flash going through my mind that they come back. But there's people I don't remember. I have a best friend who, I remember his name, I remember his brother's face, I remember his family. I don't remember him at all.
Mm.
I have not one memory. And he died in a tragic accident when I was a teenager. And he drowned, I guess. I don't remember anything. I don't remember a funeral. I don't remember spending any time with this kid. I don't remember any connection to him the way that my family and friends and his brother and everybody talk about our connection. Like, we were best friends, apparently. Well, one of my best friends, but I don't remember the
Oh
kid at
wow.
all. And this, so there's definitely effects of brain injuries. When I hear people talk about TMI, I get it, but you know, you can put your brain back together, I guess, in some cases. Some people can. You know, obviously there's things that affect people's brain that affects you differently. I am just an extremely lucky person that I'm functioning, I'm normal, and that everything about me is pretty much normal. I suffer migraines and stuff, but I've had it my whole life. But I'll tell you this to you, CW, because I want to mention this earlier. So the only thing that I will attribute, well, compare when it came to psychedelics and the experience I had when my aneurysm burst, is the time period that from when it burst to when I woke up, which I said a little bit earlier, that I don't remember very much. I really remember very little thing. but it's very similar to the first experience that I had on DMT.
Mhm.
The minute I was in a certain place on DMT, I was in the same place I was when my brain exploded. And when I came back, and that's why I wanted to do it the second time, because I was trying to see if I could have that same experience. And it does kind of like it. It's just the only thing that I can liken to what happened to me when my aneurysm burst. So that was like, you talk about changes, but just comparing things and trying to figure out, psychedelics, any paranormal connection, but more of a real connection to the brain, like possibly how the brain functions or whatever, is the only thing that I find interesting about psychedelics and brain, in my brain at least.
Right. And did your experiences with the paranormal, did they occur, prior to the brain aneurysm, or was that something that really kind of started occurring after the brain aneurysm?
No, they definitely started. I mean, when I was like 7 years old,
Okay.
and I had talked about, this is something that kind of, I've been interviewed and stuff. It's in different books and fucking magazines and stupid shit. But I've always said that when I was 7 years old, we lived in the south end of Boston. That's where I grew up. So we lived in an old brownstone, and we used to have what's called a telephone room. So you'd walk to the kitchen, but you're always told to close one door behind you before you open the next. And we had a room that just had a telephone in it and a china cabinet. And as I'm walking through the room, there was a man standing in front of me, and he's dressed in a sailor's outfit. And I look at the man, I say hello, and it didn't seem weird because the house was so big, my grandma used to keep boarders in the house. So there'd be people who would come and go, and you'd meet people all the time. It wasn't rare there'd be, not necessarily a stranger, but somebody who was just in the house who I hadn't met yet. And
Right.
I was like, how you doing? He's like, hey, and he's like, I'm like, what's your name? He's like, I'm Joe. And I'm like, my name's Joe. He's like, yeah, I know, I just came to say hi to you and meet you. And I was like, okay. And my grandmother's in the next room, who's now been deceased for a long time. But she calls my name, like, Joseph, like, who are you talking to? So as she says that, I open the door and I walk through and I close the door. I don't think anything of it. And she's like, who are you talking to? I was talking to Joe, the sailor, the sailor guy. And he was going to the kitchen. She's like, what are you talking about? I was like, he's black, he had a sailor outfit on, he's dark skinned. I described this man perfectly. And she goes and she gets a photo album, and she says, well, is this what you're talking about? And I was like, yeah, that's him right there. And it was my grandfather. Now, my grandfather had died my grandfather had died when my mother was a kid, and probably about my age, somewhere around the same age I was. And she never, or my grandmother, anybody had ever shown me pictures of it. Now, through osmosis, maybe, is it possible as a kid I came across a picture or something, and it was just already embedded in my brain, and that created this whole scenario? Because that's how I look at it now. As, again, I'm trying to find the truth. Or did I have an actual paranormal experience? And my grandfather came to visit me and just wanted to meet me because I was named after him, and that needed to happen or whatever. It's never happened since. I've never had an experience where I felt like my grandfather as a ghost has come appeared to me at all. The house we grew up in, there were signs of things that, haunted things would go on that we would just notice. Other people would be in the house. They would notice it and talk about it. It's old, brownstone. So I don't know if that attribute to some of the stuff that was going on in the house, but some of it was just kind of weird. It didn't seem like old house stuff because I knew my house pretty well. And just different things that I've survived throughout the years I shouldn't have survived. Bullets whizzing past my head, people getting murdered around me and stuff, just crazy things that I've seen. All of it, it's all just been kind of paranormal. And it's just, the brain surgery was just a thing that kind of culminated, I'll kind of put it all together at that point. It's like after that, I just started to question everything. What the hell's going on? Like, why is my life so crazy at that point? How old was I? 36? So at that point, at 36 of my life, I already had this crazy, crazy fucking life that just didn't really make sense to me once my brain exploded. So it just set me off on that path.
So listen, so you mentioned kind of part of your journey beginning with doing investigations. Like, what did you see at the time? Because that realm of paranormal investigations, and we all know about the ghost hunting shows and all that stuff. What part of it did you kind of see, and as you were trying to get your game together, see like, okay, that's not how you do it, or that's good, or that works, or that doesn't work? Or who'd you talk to, and how'd you start putting together how you were going to go about doing investigations?
Well, weirdly enough, I think I had saw ghost hunters a couple of times at that point. My life was just so busy and crazy. TV wasn't something that was on my radar. I didn't even watch X-Files until I was like probably 6 years ago. I finally watched X-Files. But say the question one more time. I just lost myself.
You'd mentioned early in your journey, kind of starting.
Oh, how I got
doing
there. I'm sorry. Okay,
investigations.
yes.
Yeah.
So it was coast to coast. and listening to that stuff, which leads you to other things. You start finding these people and the shows and the different people at the head of the shows and watching how they do it and listening to how people say they do it. And literally, like to the left of me in the corner of the room in the basement is a ton of equipment. So what I did was what most people do. I started emulating what I saw on television to see, is this a legitimate way to go and find a ghost or to do a paranormal investigation? So I've got the millimeters, I've got the fucking stud finders, which is pretty much what they are. I've got the spirit box, I've got night vision, I've got all kinds of shit over there throughout the years. Laser lines, laser grids, laser fucking star things and everything. All these things that I've seen them all do and use. And I have used all of them. Time and time and time again, hour after hour after hour. And that's basically, I think, how most people start. It's almost like it's a pseudoscience, but you find the pseudoscience before you'll ever find any actual real necessary science behind it. So most people go down that road. And I just found that I don't mind the stuff being there, trying it to see if something adds up. Maybe it could do something so incredible at one moment that it just would blow my mind. Without any explanation, but that is yet to happen. I haven't had like 2 spirit boxes going at the same time, and some ghost is taught. CW, this is tells you how. Perfect example of coast to coast. So I'm in a place called Rolling Hills Asylum. This is upstate New York. It's at the time was considered like the number 2 haunted place in America. So I went to this place, didn't know much about it, to go do an investigation. While we're there, we're doing a spirit box session. This is like 3:00 in the morning upstairs on one of these wings, and it's like me and 2 other people. And through the spirit box, they're asking these questions. I hear this voice. It's fucking John B. Wells. I literally know this dude's voice. He's been on Paranormal Hood. He's literally been on our podcast before. I know his voice. If you listen to Coast AM, he has a very, very distinct voice. It's like Jimmy Church has a distinct voice. George Norrie has a distinct voice. Right. John B. But his voice is coming through the spirit box, and these people are trying to convince me that it's a ghost. I'm like, it's not a ghost. You're hunting an AM/FM frequency back and forth. If you don't understand how a spirit box pretty much works, it's a radio tuner. It's like, you ever see Transformers, Bumblebee?
Yeah, exactly.
So how Bumblebee communicates is Bumblebee just basically hunts the AM/FM frequencies to find the right music, the right words, whatever will help Bumblebee to speak. So that's essentially what the thought process is and what a spirit box does, or that you're supposed to be getting these extra communications through these radio waves, whatever. But a lot of the stuff that you're hearing radio stuff. And a lot of it may add up in your mind, because if you're listening to Coast to Coast or you happen to pick it up on the AM frequency, they may be having to talk about ghosts. They may be having to talk about the dead. They may be having to talk about aliens, whatever they're doing at the time that you're doing an investigation. So you hear this dude's voice and they're trying to tell me that this is legitimate, like, proof that this spirit box thing is working. I'm like, that's not proof. I listen to this dude every fucking time he's on. It was every Saturday night or whatever it was. I was like, that's not proof of anything. Right. So all this equipment and stuff that I have all sits there and collects dust, and I can go do investigations, but none of it is blowing my mind. None of it.
None of it's blowing your mind.
None of it.
Even though it hasn't blown your mind, is there anything that you could say, even if it didn't blow your mind, that you got out of even just the process of doing that?
Yeah, I mean, there's still questions. There's things that have happened that are questionable. Smoke King and I were in a place called the Bridgewater Triangle, which is a huge area that covers a bunch of towns in like southeast or southeast or eastern Massachusetts. That supposedly has everything you could think of in there, from UFO sightings to Bigfoot to pug wedgies to occult activity.
Wedgies? What the heck is a pug wedgie?
So a pug wedgie is a lore here that the Native Americans talked about, these little small creatures. You'd have to look them up. I don't know how to add it on the screen. That are kind of chupacabras, but they're more goblin-looking things. It's hard to explain, but they're called pug wedgies. And these things have all supposedly been seen in this area. So we've done a ton of research, a ton of investigating in different areas of the Bridgewater Triangle. So one night we're four-wheeling, basically, it's me, Smoke King, Wiz, and Meta. There's 4 of us in this car, and we're on this back road. And we're going down this back road, four-wheeling, through the fucking forest, and we see this light on a pole in the middle of nowhere. It just didn't seem like it needed to be there. It was weird. So we get out the car and we walk towards the light, and we're looking up now, figuring out the light was probably something maybe the rangers or park people put there to, it may have been a camera. It could have been some kind of a feeder, but it had a weird light to it. It didn't make it look like a camera. So maybe it was monitoring something. But no sooner do we step out the truck, there's something huge right in front of us that we can't see, but we hear it. And I'm thinking it's coming towards me. So I'm going for my mace because I'm thinking I'm going to have to OC this damn thing. Oh, yeah, that's them right there. Yeah, see, they're like really weird looking things. But it was snapping like branches and small trees in front of us. So it couldn't have been a deer. I doubt it was a bear. Could have been Bigfoot. I don't know that it's not Bigfoot, but whatever it was, we couldn't do what it was doing. Like even as human beings, we couldn't get into this dense area of the forest and snap these trees and branches the way this thing did it. So it couldn't have been a deer. It couldn't have been anything small. It was something big and fast. Was it Bigfoot checking out the light? Because we came out because we saw the light too. Maybe it was coming to say, like, what the fuck is that? Or who knows what it was. But I don't automatically think, oh, because they said Bigfoot was in the area, it was Bigfoot.
Right. So what questions, like, what are, like, you I think we've touched upon it during the conversation, but what would you say is like still the question that kind of, that obviously, with Paranormal Hood live, you guys have gone kind of really, or most, I dare say most famous for the kind of the debunking or the critique of people in this community. But as far as, your own paranormal investigations or the questions that drove that paranormal investigation, what is, like, can you, like, crystallize it, like the central thing that, or some of the central things that when you wake up still, are kind of drive you, or you have as questions?
Just truth. Question how to
Truth.
figure out how to find the truth. How what I can do, what anybody can do. It doesn't have to be me. Just somebody find the fucking truth. How did you get there? What was the process? Do we get to the level where the Ghostbusters type shit becomes reality? Some scientists actually put their brain to it and they're working on something right now and they figure out how to capture a ghost. Or I don't want to capture Bigfoot, but prove that Bigfoot exists or prove that aliens exist. That's what drives me, is that I still am able to investigate and I still want to investigate. I don't want somebody else to keep telling me this shit for the next 10, 15, 20 fucking years. It just turns out to be garbage. I'm tired of going down rabbit holes that just turn out to be holes of shit. So I'd rather be out there again with boots on the ground is my motto, and trying to investigate myself. And I hope I come across something that helps. If it doesn't work for anybody else, because I've never been in this to prove this to anybody else. That's why I don't really care about all the bullshit. I want to prove it to myself. And that's it. And when I find that proof or anything ever happens, when and if it ever does, you'll see a change in how we talk about stuff. You'll see a change in how we do stuff. I will absolutely endorse what I believe to be true, but I'm not going to endorse shit that I know and believe that is absolute garbage ever.
I can dig it. Okay, so let me just go over my notes real quick. So we've been here for like about an hour. Do you feel like doing a little bit of Q&A before we leave?
I'm lighting up another blunt. Let's go.
He's lining up. There you go. So we can't guarantee any answers, but we can certainly guarantee you some entertainment.
We can try. You might want to put the questions on. You might want to put the questions on the screen though, so we can remember them.
Bro, I do not know how to do that. Like flashing.
You're on StreamYard, right? But you're on StreamYard?
I'm on StreamYard.
So wait, I don't have. But to the board to the right, there should be.
No, I can see the comments. I don't know if I can get those comments to us. Let me see. Hold on.
Yeah, you can. Just click on show. If you look at the comment, go click on. Put your mouse.
Oh yeah, like this.
Yeah, like that. That way we'll remember.
Oh, okay, no doubt. Yeah, no, I can do that. I thought you meant like the whole like running stream. Like, there's people that do this like OBS or the friggin' stream.
StreamYard is for idiots. That's why I love it.
Listen, there you go. That's why I'm catching on. So let's see this. So folks, it'll take about 5 minutes for them to catch up with us in time. I'm not going, backwards, up through time to get your thing. So if there's any questions. Now, listen, this guy is a troll, but we love him. I'll throw him up because he's asking the first question. Eval Nerdigan says, question, why did you talk to a tree in your Amazon Prime show?
Okay, first of all, I didn't talk to a tree. If you actually listen to it, I don't think they're being a troll, actually. So there's a tree in the same place I was talking about, the Bridgewater Triangle, on top of, is it Looking Man Rock? It's something rock. I forget, something Man Rock. And as they're up there, I couldn't go up there. I wasn't going up there. My leg is, I wasn't climbing up these fucking rocks. But they got to the top. And while they're up there, the tree that is right at the top was making this noise that we can't explain. So if you actually watch it, that's what they're saying. It's not, we weren't hugging the tree. The tree was just making this weird noise. We thought it was a bug or something. They thought it was a bug, but they couldn't find anything on the tree, tapping the tree, touching the tree, putting lights on it. You'd figure a bug would stop making that noise. But the tree, if you listen to it, was definitely making some weird noise. Okay. Cool.
Jonaside, your erstwhile companion,
It's number
the
2.
Riddler to your Joker on the Jiggy Jew show. This is on the Jiggy Jew show. Who's the number 2?
That would be Genocide.
That up there you go, Mr. Talkative, Mr. Personality himself.
Mm-hmm. Hey, he
There
talks
you
a
go.
lot with he talks a lot with us. I don't know about the rest of y'all.
Whenever he's been on any of my like hangouts, he's always been like Mr. Joe Silence.
You got to bring it out of him, so you got to have the right topic of conversation.
Well, what is the right topic of conversation with that guy?
Anything on Jiggy Jew. See, that's how it works. There is no topic of conversation. We just talk about everything. See?
So you mentioned not wanting to talk about people personally, but we did mention Billy Carson several times. So I think here's Jay Rhodes saying, question: what is your opinion on the work of Billy Carson? Do you think you can give us like a synopsis?
Bullshit. Like
bullshit.
In essence, somebody actually, it was Spud Wife, who was kind of, and I want to give her credit because she's been posting about this stuff. Billy claims to have gone to MIT. If you look at his bio, he actually claims that his alma maters are Harvard and MIT. Like, this is some Bob Lazar shit right here. Like, it's like you're claiming these are your alma maters. I remember when he came here to go to MIT. I literally was supposed to pick him up. We were going to have lunch. He was going to come and do an interview and everything in the studio. But I think something happened with my grandbaby or something. I couldn't do it. But you can't come to MIT for 2 days and claim it as your alma mater. You were probably there because MIT gives free courses. If you go on Twitter, follow Spud White, you can see where she actually puts up this stuff. And you can see that you can take these free courses at Harvard. You can take free courses at MIT that are these fringe topics or random stuff that they just allow people to do or they do themselves. But it does not mean that this is your alma mater. This does not mean that you are MIT educated and trained, that all this stuff that you talk about is backed up by this education you supposedly got. You look at Billy Carson, I say it again, just go to anything that he does, because I'm blocked everywhere by Billy, and look at his reviews of stuff. Look at the reviews that his own customers are saying, the stuff that he talks about. He's another one. I'm a new Amazon, whatever, bestseller and all this type of bullshit. Yeah, and some fringe topic that you created that doesn't exist, that there's a whole bunch of other authors in. The stuff that his credibility is not there. Anybody, if you know anybody who's smart, anybody who went to MIT, anybody who went to Harvard and all this type of stuff, they'd be the first person to show you degrees. Their families would be talking about the stuff they did. They would be making a big hoopla about it. There's none of that with Billy. All this is a whole bunch of talk. Woke don't mean broke. It is all about money. Right. Woke doesn't mean you have to be rich either. Woke doesn't have to be either or, but you don't have to fucking profit all this bullshit. It's supposed to be truth. It's supposed to be about truth. How do you put a dollar sign on truth? Wouldn't you want human beings to have the truth? If you had a source for free energy, look at the fucking world right now. Do you really need to sell it? Do you really? That's what the stuff that he's trying to do. I want to build these things for Africa. I want to go into space. You want to do all that, but you want to worry about Bentleys and giving away Bentleys and a bunch of bullshit that has nothing to do with this ascension and all this craziness that people like him talk about. Tell me anything that Billy does, how you see him ascending anywhere or going anywhere. Right. And if he is, why does he need anything that he talks about here? If he's Thoth or whatever his name, Tooth, whatever the fucking guy's name he says he is, why does he need any of this stuff?
Just like, isn't he the incarnation of Thoth?
Right. He's been to the pyramid. If he's Thoth, he should have walked up to that pyramid. That pyramid should have opened up and recognized him. Like, welcome back, Billy. And done it and did whatever. It should have proven to us right there to stop. The same thing with Billy. Billy's in Greece. He just recently posted he's in Santorini or whatever, Greece, where there was the volcanic eruption that buried the city and blah, blah, blah. Dude, you talk so much shit about Antarctica. If you have all this money, fuck doing anything. Fuck doing anything else. Take your black ass to Antarctica, and it is affordable because you've been everywhere else. It's affordable on tours. Go to Antarctica, show us the wall, show us the hole where Admiral Byrd went down, show us these pyramids that you talk about, which are actually mountains and stuff like that. And when you come back, you don't have to worry about being broke. You will not have to. You will change the scope of humanity, the way we see things, because you've proved that there's a hole in the middle of Earth. You proved there's aliens. You proved there's fucking pyramids there and blah, blah, blah. You'll be celebrated. You found pyramids in Antarctica. Go do it.
Right.
Nothing that he says comes true. Nothing that he says makes any sense. Go get his book. But we have it. The Emerald, blah, 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 blah. It's all pictures and quotes and other stuff. And people who back, David Wilcox type shit, or people who back up his bullshit. Billy Carson, is a fraud. I know the man personally. I don't speak from stuff I've seen on there. This is from hanging out with him, talking to him, getting to know him, seeing how quick he switched up and got all weird and shit around me and everything. And I was like, yeah, I'm good with this dude. I know who the fuck he is. He's a fucking con man. He's a slick pimp. He's an old school slick fucking con man, the 5 card Marnie motherfucker on the corner trying to take your money. Good luck.
Right. Then also, because I can back up that whole thing with the MIT thing. It's like he literally went to one of these things, and I don't know why MIT does this stuff, because it's like they're just asking. It's like they're basically, they got to know that they're helping to create this sort of line of bullshit. They give a series of 2 to 3 day lectures, and they give people a certificate for completing it. And I'm like, why the fuck would MIT do that when they?
But here's the thing, CW.
It's just.
But as an employer, if somebody came to you right now and said, okay, whatever you're looking for, a certain kind of educated person, they say, well, I went to MIT. You're going to do research. You're going to figure out, well, show me you went to MIT. They're going to give you a certificate. That's not going to MIT. You visited MIT.
Oh, absolutely.
I used to fuck a chick at MIT. So what, did I go to MIT?
Right.
Sorry, I don't mean to be harsh, but that's
MIT.
There you go. So it's,
absolutely.
It's all about this vetting that they talk about.
Yeah, because it took me like 5. And it's like talking about doing your own research and doing your own discernment. It took me about 5 minutes to figure out. I looked at his website, him mentioning that certificate from MIT, and thought to myself, "Hey, that's weird." Let me. And it took me 5 seconds to realize what it was, what the symposium was, and all that stuff. And free energy is one of those things like drip disclosure. It's one of these things that send money now. Right. Support us on GoFundMe. Support us on PayPal, because it's right around the corner. We're working on getting this. And it's been like happening for like 25 years. We've been waiting for free energy.
We've been waiting for the world to end since we were born. All this, the world to end, everything that they predict, CW, since you were born. Haven't you heard that the world was going to end? That everything is biblical, everything is revelations and shit. Right. I've been hearing revelations. When there was a fire, anything, a hurricane, anything throughout my life, anything that was extreme weather, when we got the blizzard of 78 in Massachusetts, it's revelations.
It's revelations. It's here.
The end is coming. The crickets will be here. They're going to sound the horns. Okay. Still here.
Go.
Still here.
Next question. Welcome to the show. Ask question. Do you think we've seen all of these UFO bombshells to claw back cash lost to the symposium lockdowns?
You talking about the individuals or like the government?
I think it's asking about, like, because lately we've seen these things like the Tic Tac UFO and the Lou Elizondo, the uptick on stuff about Lou Elizondo, and Dan Sheehan and all this stuff coming out, or even Dr. Stephen Greer's new documentaries. I think they're asking whether or not you think this kind of latest like glut of UFO Twitter, UFO activity is an attempt to make up for the losses of the COVID lockdown.
Well, not just that, but you capitalize on the whole idea of Space Force. You capitalize on all these people going into space. They're going to start looking at every footage of a Virgin Galactic or a Bezos launch or a fucking Elon Musk launch. And you see that there, and this is there, and this is there. It's just all part of a bigger thing. You're capitalizing on the fact that right now people were distracted. They got into things like the letter of the alphabet. They got more people got into, because that led them also down the road to UFOs and to cryptozoology and to ghosts and to everything else. So I think the uptick of it will eventually kind of wane off too. I think that these people are talking about stuff, and unless you really have a legitimate Space Force, anything that's going to move us any further, it'll just wane off. These people aren't going to go too far with this shit.
Right. Now, you mentioned the certain letter of the alphabet. Before we get to the next question, I'll ask you a question. Yep. I've noticed a kind of radical impact due to Trump and that particular letter, and the fascination that this ufology conspiracy community, of many members of it, developed around it. And I also think that I can sense the after effects, the hangover of that party. Do you have any thoughts and ideas about that general area?
Dude, I went to, right before I got sick, I was in Arizona, something called Disclosure Con. You know who was there? The guy with the horns and shit, Jake Angeli, what the hell is his name? The Q shaman.
Oh, the Q shaman. Yeah.
Amongst a whole bunch of other people who ended up there at the rally and stuff like that. Paula Asteria, Rob Counts, all these people. I shared a panel with Edge of Wonder, Rex Bear.
Yeah.
I'm trying to who else it was at this fucking thing. I don't know why this dude asked me up on this panel to this day. Doc Skinner had no idea who I was, because he's like, "You're a Paranormal in the Hood, right? All right, I want you to go up on the panel." I was like, "You sure?" Okay, and Natasha's on the other end of the panel, and again, I looked around the room.
What, the Natasha Bynes?
No, Natasha Nix. No,
Oh,
Natasha Nix.
There
Yeah, she had. If you ever get the chance, I'll link it up again. She has the best. She just slams the fucking mic at the end, basically, with what she had to say. I was nominal in what I had to say because I just looked around me and I looked around the room and I just felt like, well, I'm the only person of color in this room. And two, these people do not look like they're going to be receptive to the shit I really want to say. Because the thing was about, what was it? Censorship through monetization. And if you watch the panel, all you hear Ed Wonder and them keep talking about is money, 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 money. How is it affecting their money? And I'm just sitting there like, that's all these people care about. And I just wanted to say something, but I was just like, whatever, I'm just going to say something real calm and cool and keep it moving. But watching like how that shit grew in this community is incredible.
It's incredible.
Watching how these people were doing it at these conferences and talking about this stuff and ramping themselves up to the point that it got to where it was January 6th, I believe is the date. It's like, we watched this shit unfold. And it's like me, Lee Veltman, and Natasha are the only person at this conference who I believe were just not with all this shit. There's literally a picture of me mooning the fucking Q map. They have a big fucking huge version of it. I'm just mooning it. And I'm just walking around this thing like, my God, what do these people think? What does this have to do with UFOs? What does this have to do with the truth? What does it have to do with disclosure? This is called Disclosure Con. Now you've taken the same thing with Coast to Coast. Everything became political. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Like, how did that tie in? But it ties into, again, these conspiracies, these things that have gone on for a long time, that there's the Nazi government or the Jewish government or these bad people and all this stuff that ties in that have been controlling all of us, that Illuminati, that dark evil cabal, that nobody seems to know who they are, but they do all this shit. And it ties in, and it ties into people's imaginations. Again, it resonates with them. When they see that map and it goes all the way back to Atlantis and shit, they're like, whoa, they're blown away. That this connects to this. None of it connects to shit. It's a bunch of random shit put together. I can create a map. When we create a Jiggy map, I got a Jiggy map. I'll create a map of the last 10 years of investigating. Absolutely. Yeah, good luck with that shit. It's foolishness. And but it's still growing, though. That's what's still kind of scary. There's still people committed to it. But when they find out, once that curtain gets the Wizard of Oz, once the curtain gets pulled back and they see who's back there pulling the strings, they're like, fuck, I've been had. And they're trying to reconnect with their family and their friends.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I need therapy.
Absolutely. I got taken advantage of. That's a Jewel Lightheart asks, I would like to know what the guest thinks of Dr. Greer's CE5 contact. Thank you.
Mr. Greer, Mr. Stephen Greer, I'm not going to call him Dr. Greer, fuck him, is probably the best grifter. He's got the biggest platform for a grip that he's raking in just great grifter money. What I think about Stephen Greer is he's just great at his game and people just believe his bullshit. And he's just a great storyteller and a great liar. And he's been doing it for so long that at this point, he's just very charismatic and people want to believe. But I don't believe anything that Stephen Greer says. And you have products from him like Emery Smith and other people that have branched off from him that just tells you everything you need to know about Stephen Greer. You are the company you keep.
No doubt. Jilly Beans. You know Jilly Beans well. We all know her. What place do you want to investigate next? Is there a place that would be your number one choice?
Right now, there's a place. It's a hotel. I don't know if it's in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, somewhere by you, CW. It actually has a giant Ouija board on top of the building, like painted on top of the building. And the building is supposed to be haunted and all this stuff. It's a place that I've kind of been fascinated with. I wouldn't mind doing that place.
Hey, listen, come on down. We'll hang.
Okay, you ready to go investigate, though?
I'm ready to go investigate, but I'll warn you, I'm like the wacky guy that's going to, like, freak out.
Yeah, well, good luck.
Game
I don't
over,
freak out.
Man. They're here, bro.
What do you mean they cut the power? They're animals.
That's it.
You gotta go all Bill Paxton aliens on me and shit.
I'll go Bill Paxton. It'll just be, and you know what? It'll be like approaching sundown. And I'll be like, I don't know about this, man. This is fucking weird, bro.
Why don't you put the kid in charge, man? Okay, she survived. Rest in peace, Bill Paxton.
That's it, man. Hey, listen, at this rate, I won't even be Bill Paxton. I was going to say I wouldn't be Bill Paxton. I would be Newt. And then I realized, no, wait, that joke doesn't work because Newt held your shit together far longer than Bill Paxton.
Basically. Well, shit, well, again, there's only one black person in the movie, and that's with Apone. the lieutenant or whatever, the one that dies and shit.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't last long in the movie anyway. So sorry. I guess you get to
Well,
be
hey,
new.
at least he's a black man in the position of authority.
Yeah, he wasn't real good at it. So
No, well,
they got their asses kicked, man.
The brother still dies first. You know what I mean? But at least he got to smoke
yeah.
that once.
No, I'm sorry. I'm wrong. There's two because there's Frost. Frost is the first one to die. There's two black dudes in the movie because Frost is the one that he fucking is by the ammunition. He's holding, and then the ammunition blows up. He gets knocked down the shut.
Oh man, it's been too long since I've seen that movie.
Sorry. Listen, I speak movie.
Me. Well, then, hey, listen. When we go to the first Alien, you have Yaphet. He just passed away.
Yaphet
Kotto.
Oh, Yaphet Kotto. Yeah, got you.
Yaphet Kotto.
Yeah.
Right? He lasts a fair amount of time in the first one. So
yeah, he did. Shit, he has stories about that shit.
But he's still essentially a janitor.
CW, I want to circle back to Jill's question real quick.
Okay.
And, honestly, not thinking about it, I mean, because the other one is kind of like a fluff, paranormal thing. What I would really legitimately like to be investigated is someplace like ESETI, Skinwalker, places where, but they would allow us to actually really investigate, like no holds barred, no bullshit, like real cameras, real equipment and stuff like that can see distances and be able to capture these images that are supposedly alien contact and all stargates and all this crazy shit. Like just not any inhibit, just let us investigate, no bullshit. I would love to go and do places like that. Like those things have been touted so long to be haunted and all these different activities go on there and all this crazy shit that they have a fucking series, Skinwalker Ranch, which still ain't showing shit.
Right.
It's all sensationalized bullshit. So why not let legitimate investigators go there? I'd love to go to Antarctica.
Hell yeah.
I'll take my black ass to Antarctica if I could. If there was a way to do it where I could handle it, I'd absolutely go there just so I could see it for myself. Well, that's a fucking mountain, Billy. I would make the commentary just for him. Mr. Carson, sir, as I stand in front of this mountain, AK was supposed to be a pyramid for you, sir. I can assure you this is a motherfucking mountain.
That's it.
There's no hole. There's no wall. There's no force that's out there that stops you. International force that gets together and stops you because they don't want you to see the wall. None of that type of bullshit. Linda Moulton Howe, there's no Spartan 1, Spartan 2 who went down some tunnel in some base with drop ceilings and all this type of bullshit. Like enough. That would be the best thing to do. Like if I could really investigate, would be investigate these places and debunk bullshit.
No doubt. Let me see if we got any more questions. Oh, here's another one. Legitimate question. How many swinger sex parties are there at these woo-woo conferences?
Listen, I've given this advice before, and I'll say it because I normally only kind of say it on Jiggy Juice. Just watch what invitations you take and watch what rooms you go to because it's like anything else. I say this is why I know that these people are so into themselves and so into what they feel like celebrity status and stuff because it reminds me of the same shit I did as bodyguards. It's like after the show, it's the after party, and after the party, it's the hotel lobby, and after the, you know what I'm saying? It's exactly a Jay-Z song. It's exactly the shit I used to see on tours and in clubs and in concerts, especially concerts and stuff working and what people would offer to get backstage and shit like that. And the after parties, and it's the same fucking thing. These are a bunch of adults. You got all these fucking hippy dippy shit going on and massages and rubbing and all kinds of stuff being drank and passed around. And by the time they get up in the room, we're going to go up in the room and give away free massages and have a meditation session and stuff like that. Yeah, until the dicks come out and the titties come out and stuff like that. And you know what happens? This is human nature.
There you go. That's it. And it's from a Jay-Z song into a Michael Jackson song, Human Nature.
Why? Human nature. Could they do me that way?
It's a good one. See, you've got a song and a dance for you.
Mm-hmm.
Going through.
That is a funny question though, because people don't think like that. But I mean,
I thought like that. I thought but you know what the thing is? This is that like so you saw the rap shows and you see like it actually goes down, and like it's like the thing about like nude beaches and swinger parties. Like you always think about like, oh man, the nude beach, and then you actually go there and it's like people you do not want to see naked.
That is not true. It depends on where you go to a nude beach. Because I've been to a nude beach in Jamaica at my resort that was off the shit. Well, now in hindsight, it was also a birthday party for Beanie Man that week. So every fucking artist you could think of was there. So there was a lot of there was some. Never mind.
Absolutely no. Normally you go to a nude beach and it's dudes like me. Butt ass naked, thumbs out, looking for the hot ladies.
CW, I've also told this story. One of the worst experiences I ever had, I don't even know if they exist anymore. When I was in Jamaica, everybody always talked about hedonism. So
hedonism.
you can
That's
do
what I'm
day
talking
tours
about.
to hedonism. So I did a day tour to hedonism on like an off day, like a Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever. It was like the worst thing ever. But come to find out that when they go to events at hedonism, it's a whole different thing. But when you go there during the other time, it's just a bunch of older folks and shit who are out there looking for younger folks and hot bodies who ain't there unless there's an event or it's the weekend. So yeah, whatever. It's a letdown.
No, that's absolutely my take on it too. It's never so like you see this stuff. It's like it's like who's gonna fuck David Wilcock? Like the finest gals.
Shit, does Elizabeth fuck David? Well, they will though.
Oh man,
they will. But come on, dude. Let me tell you something. Look at even some of these fucking rap artists and stuff like that. These little ugly motherfuckers and shit like that. Biggie Smalls. I'm sorry. Anybody who's in this chat right now, I can't see the chat, but one woman tell me, one man, anybody who found Biggie Smalls attractive. I'll wait. I'm just saying. So you think that David, dude, Emery Smith, all these people, like, look at these guys and stuff like that. And then they go and they after party, and I've seen them all drinking and partying and chilling and having a good old time and shit. I've smoked with some people, everything. They're gonna get it. It's just what it is. They're the celebrities, the people who are there. Here's a perfect example of Emery Smith. You see everything he just went through with his ex-girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
So did you actually watch any of her content?
I met her.
Okay.
At friggin'
Contact
the Desert 2019.
And if you listen to everything she says, she was enamored with this dude online before she ever met him. She was in love and committed, ready to have babies and everything. Look at that dude. First of all, the motherfucker, if you go look at anything Emery Smith, you're going to see his fucking 1998 glamour shots photo from the mall and shit. Absolutely. And then you see him in person. He was walking around the Conscious Life Expo with a bunch of security around him. And I'm a security expert, is what I've done more of my life, more than half of my life. And I'm sitting there and I'm with my friend and I'm asking, I'm like, wow, why is there so much security? And like, there's a person in there. It must be some celebrity or something at the hotel. And someone's like, no, it's Emery Smith. That's Emery Smith? So who's the dude in the photo? I was like, oh, I get it. And then you see him, and no disrespect, I'm not the fucking most fit guy in the world, but it's like, that's not the guy in the photo by any stretch of the imagination. And you got that young, hot-looking chick. If you think she's hot, she thinks she's hot, pining after him. You don't think that they're not pining after David and Billy and all Lou Elizondo, fucking all these motherfuckers. That's what they go there for. They go there. It's part of the fantasy. The fantasy is, oh my God, I got to be with a super secret space force guy, some guy who's going to change the world, some guy who's going to cure this and has med beds, or this guy who's done 20 in backs and he's fought aliens. And do you know what he's given for the world? Women fall for serial killers.
Right. Yeah.
Men fall for serial killers. You don't think that they don't fall for these fucking clowns?
That's it. We're in the wrong business, man.
I'm not in the wrong. Listen, C.W., I could have went that route. I was deep embedded in all this. I met everybody, people from Gaia, people who run that's how I ended up at Conscious Life Expo speaking. I met the guy who runs that. I've met everybody who runs everything, network people over the years, all that type of shit. I could have done all this. It was easy enough to do. Have you seen me? You've never seen, like, ask Lee Veltman, ask Natasha, people who know me personally. You see my scars. Dude, I have enough scars that I could have went in there and told you the most incredible story.
Right.
I got more scars even since then. I could just go back and tell you incredible. I could have went right along with the program.
That's why I got scars of contact in the Desert 2019.
And with my work background,
here's tomorrow.
Shit.
Yeah. Here's tomorrow. What does he think? What do you think of Paul Heller? He hated Pierre. I don't know who that is. I think he quit politics, the youngest defense minister. This was, do you remember Paul Hellyer? They were always making hay about him because he was like the Canadian defense minister.
Oh, that's the one that came out and said that there was like aliens and all this type of stuff, whatever.
He believes in aliens and stuff.
I prove it again. It's easy to say. You would. It's like, what's his name? John D'Souza. Okay.
Right.
You're the real life X-Men. You did all this type of incredible stuff. You didn't keep anything. You didn't film anything. You didn't take any pictures with you. Like, if you're going to come out and put that, especially if you're coming in the public eye like that, so strong, and someone of such a position of power, you would want to have legitimate proof to back up your claims.
Right.
So is he just a kook who just wanted to be a part of a community that he wanted to latch onto because he believed in this stuff himself? Or is he someone who had legitimate stuff that they never shut him up? He's still alive. So
Yeah. Well, I think people forget, you know what I mean, that just because you're involved in the military or just because you're involved in politics at some point or at some high level like John Podesta doesn't mean that you're not subject to the same weird obsessions and beliefs that everybody is. Like people are into UFOs. So it's like, is John Podesta into UFOs because he knows some deep dark secrets, or is he into UFOs because he's just another dude that's into UFOs?
right, he was just a guy who saw Close Encounters of the Third Kind, got intrigued, got in a position of power where you could say, oh, with this power, let me see what I can do to get that. It's like people always say the president. They always ask the president the same question: are aliens real? Is there anything in Area 51? Well, I can't tell you that right now.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in office. Now that I'm out, I'm going to start talking about this alien shit people say supposedly. When is Obama talking about really talking about aliens? It's not like he's pining for it. It's not like he's campaigning for it. He spoke some little ambiguous shit and people ran with it. Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like even when they say no, people take that as he's saying no. That means it's a yes.
Right. It just means that, yeah, no, either he may know something, but no, he doesn't. And yeah, okay.
The way of the world. Elon asks, CW, ask if you go to investigate, what kind of tools would you use now that you said that the tools of a spirit box is not usable? Like, so if you had to, when you investigate now, or if you go to your next investigation, what tools are you bringing? What tools do you think are legitimate that might lead to something?
Well, I also said that I'm still not against taking the equipment just to see if something phenomenal happens with all the equipment that could be provable. Like something caught on camera. That's a little reaction to all this equipment that has nothing to do with something that can be explained, like electricity, a cop down the street with a radar gun. Like you might be out in the middle of the Mojave Desert or some shit doing an invest. Not saying I'm going to do that because someone from MASH just died out there in one of those deserts. But that filming your senses, knowing what's going on around you, and try to figure how to film that stuff and get it on camera too. The filming, I think, and the sound is one of the most important things, because what people see with their eyes, what they can see with their eyes is the most important thing. That equipment and stuff, you're hearing stuff and you're kind of seeing lights blink and stuff, but that's kind of ambiguous evidence. Where more if you have something visual, I think that's where people capture. And people see stuff in some of our investigations that we haven't seen. Even if you watch them, the comment about the Amazon Prime earlier, you'll see a bat fly like right by my face. And I knew something was flying around me, and I'm like, I hear something. But finally, when they went back and looked at it and slowed it down, in the night vision, you can see these bats just flying around me, just picking out mosquitoes in front of my face and stuff. So it's just more still trusting a camera, trusting sound equipment to see what kind of sound, trusting your environment, being in a forest. And we've been out there, and all of a sudden, all this noise, and noise just stops. And it's not because of us, because we're sitting still in the middle of stuff, but we're trying to figure out what's causing these animals and these creatures and bugs and everything all of a sudden go silent. So I think the most important tool you can ever have is the cameras. That's the thing. In this day and age, especially with UFOs, everything, you'll see someone, oh my God, look, it's a UFO. And you can hear 30 fucking people in the background. And you mean those 30 other people don't have cameras at the same time and they wouldn't be pointing it at that actual UFO? Have you ever watched World Star Hip Hop? You ever see how many people watch a fight and film a fight? So you're trying to tell me something phenomenal.
Like the amoeba group of people with the cameras
right,
out.
Everybody. That was the best thing that happened during like near the end of the pandemic was the shit that happened. I believe it was Jersey. And all those people saw the blimp and they hadn't seen anything like that in so long. They all thought it was a UFO and they were stopping on the highway and taking pictures and film. But the best thing about that was it was captured by thousands of sources, hundreds of sources. So once it was debunked, unfortunately, it wasn't anything real. But when you have that effect, then that's what's going to be great. That's why these cameras and these sound equipment, especially with 4K and 8K and all this type of shit now, you should be seeing some clearer, beautiful images and capturing great sound. So that is the most important tool you're going to have. And always have that thing. If you're watching the sky and shit's going on, tell motherfuckers, like, yo, film that shit. Like, everybody look up, get your cameras out like you're doing someone's fighting. Come on.
There you go. Spooky ass, would Jiggy ever investigate in the UK? Lots of haunts here.
Oh, spooky. One of my dreams, just castles. Like I would just love to go there and investigate, sleep in, chill, and just spend some time in old castles. And a lot of, because everything you have there clearly is older than anything we have here. So absolutely, I would love to do a lot of different things in the UK.
So I'll throw this question up, and maybe we shouldn't answer it. Question: do you think there's other YouTubers who grift the skeptical side of the woo-woo? But like I said, that guy's a shit disturber, so we gotta be
But
careful.
I mean, I don't say names, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, it works both ways. It becomes is it profitable for me to talk shit but skirt the line, and a lot of people do that as well. So yeah, people do it. I just don't I don't like saying names. The Billies and them and stuff like that are easy to call out because they're bigger targets and they make themselves that way. And I don't want to just be critical of people because people like to accuse me of being jealous and all that type of shit, and they just don't get.
Right.
I don't care enough to invest a whole lot of time editing and trying to create memes and trying to create videos, and it's not what I do. This is what I've done the whole time. I get out, I speak, and I speak when I'm going to say what I want to say. That's why we have a podcast and a platform to do it.
There you go. Okay, I'm looking through. I think we might be at a good place to cap it. Um, yeah, we've been here for about an hour and a half. Is there any closing thoughts, comments you want to make?
Yeah, find the truth.
Find the truth. All right. All
Stop.
right.
Just stop. Well, don't stop because people like to call people victims and they're all being taken advantage of. They're not all being taken advantage of. They're not all victims. Some people are willfully ignorant or willfully just want to believe in fantasies. I'm not a religious person. There's still people I know who believe in Jesus. They still
Yeah.
believe in God. Still believe in Allah. They still believe in whatever strange force they think is going to come save them, whatever. But I just hate the way we as human beings discredit how incredible we are, the stuff that we have done and can do, and stop attributing to some other shit that's supposed to be so much better than us. There's nothing coming to save you. The only
There you
angels
go.
I've ever seen on this earth are doctors, nurses, family, and friends who have been there when at my lowest points when I'm fucking in hospitals and shit like that and I'm dying or whatever. Other than that, all the other stuff is just bullshit.
All the other stuff is just bullshit. So listen, we do a thing here at the end of the. Let me see. Make sure I get the.
Uh oh.
It's the tarot cards, man. You mind?
Uh oh. Yeah. Well, yeah. You can go ahead. You read a tarot card for me once.
That's it. I don't. It's not necessarily even for you. It's for us. It's the whole video. It's become a little bit of a tradition here. Every once in a while, I forget, but I remembered.
Careful though, because people will think I'm endorsing tarot now, and I'll be a hypocrite. Right?
Hey, listen, you already said enough stuff. They know you thinking like believing ghosts, and you had the. Let me ask you a question. When you did that DMT and you got to the point where it was like when your brain exploded with the aneurysm, did you think to yourself, "Oh fuck, what did I do?"
No, that was the thing.
Okay,
So there
no
was a
doubt.
point during all that. It was just same thing with the aneurysm. It was just a point of extreme calmness. It's just a extreme a sense of I knew I was going to die.
Mm,
From everything that they told me, that I was prepared for death. So it was the same thing. Like it's almost like I was just prepared for where I was at. I was cool with it. I was comfortable with everything. But when I was on DMT, I just went back to that comfortable place. I didn't feel like I died on DMT. It just brought me back to a very comfortable place that I'd only been one other time in my life.
okay, no doubt. I can dig it. I can dig it. Okay, so with that, a card for this whole interview stream. Oh, Three of Swords. It's like the Broken Hearts Club dance.
Uh-oh.
This card. It's always there's some cards that have ambiguous, mysterious meanings, and it's all this metaphorical look into the Kabbalah tree of life and all that stuff. And the Three of Swords, everyone's just like heartbreak. That's it. People breaking up and shit. Which is interesting because you can always look to the pictures that you've been scrolling behind you, or even just this whole discussion of like the thing that brings us to this community that we find end up talking not smack about or shit about, but just pointing out problems with. We come here out of love. We come here on a quest. We come here on a journey, and oftentimes that journey involves heartbreak along the road and hard lessons learned. That's what I'll make of it. You'll make no comment because Smoke King will rip you a new one. It's all whoa. What the shit?
Yeah,
Now you're gonna sit there and say nothing while he reads a fucking tarot card? You motherfucker. Tell him I said, listen, when I was initially going to invite you on for the interview, there was part of me that was like, oh man, we should like invite. Well, I know, but you guys like are like freaking frack. I was like, we'll invite them both on and let him know if he wants to come on and talk to me. I'd be more than happy to interview Smoke King as well.
Yeah, you guys should have your own conversation.
Oh, that'd be a great conversation.
Absolutely.
Let me just turn the volume down on this one. God bless him. God bless him. God bless him. God bless you. God bless you all. Thank you. Yo, Jiggy, this was a great conversation. This was a great interview. I think we got
Thank
a
you.
lot out of it. I think we got a lot more. I got a lot more insight into your background, what got you here, what brought you here. I think we touched on a lot of interesting subjects and generated a lot of good food for thought. And I say that in all sincerity. I wouldn't have you on to talk if I thought it was going to be a waste of anybody's time, and it certainly wasn't. So I'll give a closing comment. Just say, to the people, as I always say, I love you, I love you, I love you. If nobody told you they loved you today, somebody just did. That's somebody, C.W. Chanter. Make of that what you will. Again, a thank you to Jiggy from Paranormal Hood joining us.
Thank you, sir.
Take a look at the description box below. If you're not already subscribed to both of Jiggy's channels, please remedy that immediately. You'll get what you're looking for. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. I fully endorse. That's why I wear the t-shirt. And it's also a free t-shirt, so I'll wear it anyway. Okay, folks. So with that, we'll close out. I'll see you again real soon, and we'll take it from there. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Take care, guys.